News from away. With your news anchors, Jimmy and Seamus O'Toole. Brought to you by Fidel Castrol Oil. Fights against viscosity and 6-year-old refugees staying in Miami.
How's she going, my trout?
Our top story, the chief electoral officer has ruled the Canadian Reform Conservative Alliance Party can use the word conservative in their new name. Acting leader Deborah Gray was quite relieved. Now the new party won't have to go with its second choice, the Dweeb team.
Canadian Alliance leadership hopeful Stockwell Day has just announced the brain trust behind his campaign. Dumb, Dumber and Day.
A U.S. District Court judge has ruled that Microsoft violated antitrust laws, causing stock prices to plummet. Chairman Bill Gates personally lost $12 billion in one day. At that rate, he'll be totally bankrupt in 5,064 years.
Stockholders were so upset they tried to jump out of their windows. Fortunately, nobody was hurt because it was Windows 2000 and the computers had already locked up.
Gates said he will fight the antitrust decision. He plans to go to the Supreme Court the moment he acquires controlling interest in it.
In Toronto, a municipal workers' strike has crippled the city. Most residents were surprised to learn about the strike last Monday when commuters saw public employees walking around in circles, drinking coffee and not working. They thought it was business as usual.
The lowest part of Sharon, Lois and Bram is leaving the popular children's singing group. A replacement has been found and the new group will be called Sharon, Puff Daddy and Bram. They're planning a nationwide tour to coincide with the release of their new CD, Skinema Ho We Go.
In San Francisco, there was a big dramatic announcement at the Cancer Research Conference.
There wasn't.
There was, boy.
No.
Yes, my son.
A big dramatic announcement?
A huge dramatic announcement.
No.
Yes.
In San Francisco?
Yes, boy.
The one in California?
Yes.
I worked there once.
You didn't.
Yes, boy.
No.
Yep, rode the cable car.
You didn't.
Yes, boy.
What do you know? In other news, Japan has a new prime minister because the former prime minister is in a coma, which is a resort town between Osaka and Nagoya.
And that's it for now. Stay tuned for more news from the way later this
hour. You're watching Bravo, New Style Arts Channel. Tonight, the annual dinner of the Canadian Society of Poets. And here is tonight's host, Society President Vernon Schweitzer.
Ladies and gentlemen, poets, I hope you enjoyed the dinner. Wasn't that punch something else? Okay, this is the event you've all been waiting for. A reading by the leading Canadian poet, the leading Canadian poet, Lucy Maud Snakewithers. And here she is, Lucy Maud.
Good evening. As we know, female poets have been repressed throughout our history. But in the 19th century, the little-known poet Matilda Slaglust, the wife of an early settler, wrote poems that embodied the feminist viewpoint of the early pioneers. Tonight, I'd like to read Miss Slaglust's poem To the Northland. To the Northland. And as the wintry sun descends with a fading glow, southwards flee the migrating geese, a-honking as they go. And through the evening air, snowflakes flutter to the ground, and squirrels scurry to their nests with a bobbity, 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 bobbity sound. But in the wintry fastness, where bears awaited sleep, hunters primed their murderous guns, and towards their prey did creep. Bang, 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 bang! The hunting guns did thunder, And one by one the fleeing geese did fall, their bodies rent asunder. And yet the rivers move unknowing, burbling as they go. Through the channels prehistoric, as toward the sea they flow. Thank you.
And now, the confused philosopher.
Ever wonder, when people lose weight, where does it go? Is it a good idea to send someone with an eating disorder to the Mayo Clinic? Why is it to punish people who don't pay their taxes, they're put in prisons funded by our taxes? Who coined the phrase, coin a phrase? If you wear a nose ring and you sneeze, can you put someone's eye out? Is it considered impolite to eat a banana in a public washroom? How come only fat people drink Diet Cola? Why is it that feminist bookstores don't have a humor section? If you live in China, where's the Far East? Is it possible to rub someone the right way? If dental x-rays are totally safe, why does the dentist always run out of the room before taking them? If a couple makes love on a photocopier, does that guarantee multiple orgasms? And which button do you push? How come the Japanese never had an emperor named Buddy? If books get dog-eared, do dogs get book-eared? Is there any point to staying up all night worrying about catching insomnia?
This has been The Confused Philosopher.
You said they made love on a photocopier anyway.
Got a moment, Prime Minister?
Farce Martin, what is up?
Jean, I was just wondering if maybe you had reconsidered your decision not to retire?
Well, you know, Paul, let me spell it out for you. If I was to say yes to retirement, then right away the party would have to cause a leadership wreck intervention. And next things, you would be running a wonderful, well-organized campaign with a views to become the next Prime Minister guy. You would be cross-cursing the country, make speech like giving Rock the knock and saying Nobin to Tobin. You would be in medicine at dance one day and Luniberg the next. There would be barely time to have a PEI. You'd be works long hour and you would not be home too much like travel, speech, travel, speech, travel, speech, speech. Then, one day you would have a power slam launch with a pretty campaign advisor, maybe a woman, planning strategy, and photographer come and snap your picture. It would be in all the important newspaper, maybe even also the National Post. Paul Martin Jr. caught in love nest. Then your wife gets suspicion. She would think hanky-panky with your advising woman, even though you never hanky their pankies. Your wife leave you, there would be messy divorce-like thing. She would get everything, including the junior at the end of your name. The party fateless would drop you and choose Herb Dhaliwal as leader instead. You would not even get re-elected in your own riding. You would be out of work and could not even get job as Prester's Manning pool boy. Next, you takes up drinking. Vodka and amaretto at first, then cheap wine. Finally, the Grecian formula. They got a new one now with less calories. Before long, you would end up in the street with nothing. Pauls, I cannot retire. I simply refuse to let you become a pathetic, homeless drunk. Bye-bye for sure.
Anyway, I just come from the picket line supporting Kimberly Glasgow's return to the National Ballet. My placard said, "Civil rights, put Kim back in tights." And I decided to go to our neighborhood cafe, Buddies R Us, for a double decaf, non-fat latte, no foam. You try saying that. And what did I find? Our leading theatrical lights discussing doing an opera. Carmen, no less. I said, but she's a gorgeous, sensual creature. Who we get to play her? Well, I tried hard for a minute and a half before I realized staring down 35 pairs of extremely cold eyes in total silence just wasn't my bag. Made me feel like Paul Martin at a cabinet meeting. Freddie broke the silence. He said, there are more important issues than who's going to play the lead. The entire plot revolves around a cigarette factory, and today that's politically inappropriate. So eventually we decided Carmen, in our version, would work in a factory making the nicotine patch. Once that was decided, the Reverend Carmichael stood up and said, "Excuse me, but the man Carmen fancies kills bulls for a living? Is the senseless slaughter of mute, defenseless animals for our satisfaction something we wish to be associated with?" he said, taking a bite of his chicken Marengo sandwich. So instead of bullfighting, we had to come up with a non-blood sport that didn't involve evisceration and maiming, which ruled out hockey. We finally decided the bullfighter character would be into show dogs. An activity not particularly known for passion. It's very hard to be on the emotional cutting edge when you're blow-drying a Cocker Spaniel's bum. There you go. So we thought we had it all sorted. Carmen, the belle of the nicotine patch factory, getting the hots for a show dog breeder. When Freddie came up with another problem. Carmen's first lover, whom she deceives and who kills her, was a policeman. Do we wish to condone police violence? Well, 6 of the guys got up and left in disgust. You never know when they're working undercover, do you? We finally decided on a sympathetic character who was not a cop, but part of an organization entitled to wear a uniform. Though I don't think the Salvation Army was entirely happy with our decision. Well, Carmen went on last week. One critic wrote, "The postmodern deconstructionist approach gives a transgender frisson to an essentially moribund tale of passion that badly needs this kind of insight that rips away the Gemütlichkeit accretions of the past." Critics are so full of it, aren't they?
Your dinner is ready.
My favorite, dwarf chicken.
Mother, it's Cornish hen.
Yeah.
Excuse me, Your Majesty, I have strict orders not to let you eat until the food has been tested.
Oh, honestly. Simply because one of my former staff members said it would be easy to slip poison in my food. Must we go to such lengths?
It is a necessary security precaution. It's quite all right. Carry on, Your Majesty.
Testing the food, indeed. It's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard.
Yes, pretty good.
Really, who would want to poison me?
It's in the hood rather distasteful, rather hard to swallow.
Oh, honestly, Mother, your wit will be the death of me.
Say, what's that?
Sounds like something's wrong with the plumbing.
Oh dear, did you hear? Canada is issuing a stamp to commemorate my 100th birthday.
I should live so long.
It came as a surprise to me.
To be honored with a stamp?
Yeah, the day I'm 100. We thought I'd passed away last September.
Well, it's always nice to be on something people can lick and stick.
It looks like the food was poisoned after all.
No matter. They don't call me Iron Gut Liz for nothing.
News from Away Update. Brought to you by Airhead Miles. For the ditzy shopper. Recommended by Britney Spears.
This just in LaSalle, Quebec, a recent immigrant from Bangladesh who runs a convenience store was told by the language police that his French was not good enough. Authorities said they would not close down the store if the gentleman learns the correct French pronunciation of the province's two most important cultural terms, cigarettes and Lotto 649 tickets.
In a related story, a Montreal restaurateur is facing a $7,000 fine because his cardboard beer coasters weren't in French. In response, the owner has replaced his coasters with bilingual ones.
A recent scientific study shows women with shorter index fingers are more likely to be lesbians.
Son of a gun, I'm a lesbian.
Seamus, you're not a lesbian. A lesbian likes women, so that means... Holy jeez, we're both lesbians.
In other news, Harold Grace, who is blind, has been named the head judge for this year's Miss Alberta pageant. According to Mr. Grace, this is not his first beauty contest. 10 years ago, he single-handedly picked Miss Calgary, 1990. The surviving three members of the Beatles are releasing a new tell-all book this fall. The book will retail for over $100 and will be titled The Beatles Saga, From Humble Beginnings to the Breakup Caused by That Bitch Yoko.
Gas prices is not expected to go down till next fall. Here with his commentary is Seamus.
Near as I can figure it, the current influx of crude oil is indexed on a proportional skewed system of diverse liquidation. This, combined with the equity output of petroleum products, as seen through the horizontal capital, is factored exponentially through the Calvert-Meese equation. That is my comment, as plain as day.
Which is?
Canadians is PO'd.
Good commentary, Seamus.
Thank you, Jimmy. And that's it for this edition of News from Away.
Bored.
But what about all your toys, dear?
They suck. Big time.
Howdy. I'm Alberta Premier Ralph Klein. Are your kids fed up with their toys? Then we have just the cure. It's everyone's favorite board game, Ralph Klein Operation.
Okay, honey. The card says to remove the problem that's causing Ralph so much pain.
To help perform this delicate operation, you'll be provided with the latest in privatized hospital instrument technology. That's right. An ordinary pair of tweezers.
Hey, sweetie, be careful. Don't touch the sides or Ralph's nose will light up redder than after an all-night drinking binge.
I got it.
Ralph Klein Operation, the game that'll leave you in stitches.
Hey, has anyone seen Ralph's liver? Rufus.
Ralph Klein Operation. Spend hours of fun learning how to play doctor. Because if my Alberta health bill passes, you may soon have to.
Coming up, the second half of the Air Farce season finale hour.
And now the Scot with a temper that's hot. It's Jock McBile with Get Stuffed.
Tonight, it's going to be a history lesson. The saga of Jean Chrétien, the little guy from Shawinigan. A man described by Dalton Camp as looking like the driver of the getaway car. Well, let's see what he got away with. February 94, a $4.5 million federal grant to boost tourism. You'll never guess where. Shawinigan. Forget Florida. Forget California. Forget Mexico. Canadians were going to flock to the tourist mecca of the Western Hemisphere. Shawinigan. But to see what? Chrétien had thought of that, adding federal cash to that from local companies to create a theme park showcasing the industrial history of Shawinigan. How had we as a country missed out on the vital need for such a place? On this basis, why not give Sudbury a theme park on the wonderful world of sulfur dioxide? Now you ask, why Shawinigan?
I will help them as much as I can, because it's my job as a member of parliament to help my constituents.
Right, okay. December 96 at a televised town hall meeting, Chrétien tells a woman questioner that he hadn't promised to scrap the GST. The woman said he had.
The commitment we've made to the public is we want to get rid of the GST. Our objective is very clear, that the GST be replaced. If the GST is not gone, I will have a tough time the election after that.
Are you sure you're going to get rid of the GST, Jean?
It's the only specific promise that I'm making very clear, and it's going. It's gone.
How would he have expressed it if he wasn't trying to make it clear, I wonder? Now the question is, have we got a forked tongue festival going on here? Well, someone was getting forked. March 1999, a federal grant of $164,000 to a former business associate of Chrétien's, one Yvonne Duhaime, who had bought a Shawinigan hotel partly owned by Chrétien prior to Chrétien's coming to power. And the same guy got $800,000 of aid in federal funds to improve the hotel he'd bought. There had to be a reason.
I will help them as much as I can, because it's my job as a member of parliament to help my constituents.
At the same time, one Pierre Thibault was given $1.5 million in federal funds to build another hotel in Shawinigan. Why all these hotels in Shawinigan? They were preparing for the day when the entire country would flock to Shawinigan to visit the internationally acclaimed industrial history theme park and bowling alley. Then Chrétien announces he had resolved the debt that had given him a political headache. $200,000 owed to him for selling his share of a golf course before coming to power. Not only was the golf course in Shawinigan, it was slap right next to the hotel that got $164,000 in federal funds. You said it gave you a headache. Hell, Jean, it's giving us migraines. Howard Wilson, federal ethics counsellor, decreed there was no conflict of interest in all this. God, those pigs are flying high today, aren't they? Meanwhile, as our armed forces were being starved for funds, Chrétien decided the country needed a new $15 million armory, and he looked around the country for the right place to put it. And where did he pick? I want you to guess. God, you're perceptive. And why Shawinigan?
I will help them as much as I can.
We heard enough of that. And then Chrétien's artistic side takes over. He'd like to see Canada have a fountain display like that in the Palace of Versailles in France, with a light show and music. Cost $200,000. But where should that go? Have you any idea where he wanted it? How did you guess? Now, what was the political philosophy behind all of this?
We know what to do, Canadian, when we're stuck in the snow. You don't get excited. You don't spill your wheels. You just go forward, backward, and eventually you're back on the road.
That's right. We don't know which bloody way we're going. And the stuff we're stuck in is not snow. It's all coming from you. And I haven't even mentioned the $300,000 for security and building a road to your retirement cottage. And here it is, April 2000, and you're going to run for a third term.
I will have a tough time the election after that.
Oh, if only. We'd like to tell you to go to hell, but we all know where you're going to go. Oh, get stuffed.
Well, here we go. Bottom of the ninth, ace reliever Butch Todd has come into the game, and behind the plate, catcher Jimmy Lewis is going to call for the first pitch.
Okay, Coach, he'll play for $140 million. That's his final offer.
Deal!
Major League Baseball, for the love of the game. Food for Thought, with your host, Trina Bowmore.
Hello, and welcome to the show that teaches better living through better eating. My guest is nutritionist Dr. Stelm Borison.
Sorry, I didn't have time for breakfast.
And we all know that breakfast is the most important meal of the day.
Oh, bullshit. I mean, technically that's not true. When you get up in the morning, your mouth's full of bacteria and minute decaying food from last night's dinner. This morning, I woke up with a big hunk of chicken stuck in my teeth. And this weird smell, this gooey stuff. I have no idea what it was. It was just...
Please, you're making me ill.
Well, the point is, all meals are equally important. And it's essential every day to eat at least one item from each of the 9 food groups.
9? There are only 4 food groups: grains, produce, dairy, and meat.
No. There's 9. You got your chicken wings, salsa, hot dogs, egg muffins, Pop-Tart, fridge bowl, street pizza, Subway sandwich.
Doctor, all right. You're the expert.
Oh, that's right. I am the expert. That's all here in my new book, How to Be Fat.
Doctor, nobody's going to want to read that book.
Read it? You eat it. You see, Trina, I have traveled to many exotic countries around the world, and I've been studying the benefits of unusual foods, and I'd like to share my discoveries with your audience here on the Eating Channel.
It's the Food Network, not the Eating Channel.
Sorry.
Show us some of these rare and exotic foods.
Oh, well, this is one of the rarest.
It's an apple.
Oh, so you've heard of it. Elderly men who daily consume 26 milligrams of flavonoids, that is one apple, suffered half as many heart attacks as laboratory rats who were forced to carry these apples over long distances.
I'll bet his research is funded by a government grant.
Now, here's another beneficial item.
Ah, yes, rhubarb. High in fiber content, and it may prevent diabetes.
Well, I don't know about that, but it makes a great fly swatter.
Unfortunately, we're out of time.
Did you know that by simply eating 8,000 oranges, you can eliminate hemorrhoids in hamsters?
Fascinating.
You know the best way to prepare a pepper?
Oh, stuff it.
Yeah.
CTV News with Sandy Ronaldo and her hairstyle of the week.
Good evening. Lloyd Robertson is off tonight. Our top story. Canada's most trusted newscaster has been kidnapped. Police are currently looking for a woman, 5'6", perfectly styled brown hair, and wearing a burgundy suit. Elsewhere, the leadership race for the Canadian Alliance Party is heating up. One of the leading candidates, Stockwell Day, joins me now.
Hi-ya! Oh, hello, Sandy. I was just practicing for my debate with Preston Manning.
Well, let's start with the big question on everyone's mind. What the hell kind of name is Stockwell Day?
Sandy, my parents wanted a name that was strong and distinctive. Plus, they were ripped at the time.
Mr. Day, explain the difference between the Canadian Alliance and the old Reform Party.
The Canadian Alliance has a new, exciting, dynamic feature that was completely lacking in the old Reform Party.
What is that?
Me.
Where do you stand on issues such as illegal immigration?
I would pack every single illegal immigrant into a government Challenger jet and fly them back to their own countries so they can fill in the proper paperwork. And to show them we're serious, no complimentary peanuts.
What would that accomplish?
It's all part of my campaign strategy. Vote for Stockwell Day, I'm nuts.
That's your campaign slogan?
I even have a song.
Stockwell, Stockwell. He came from the east. He lives in the west. Stockwell, Stockwell. Pro-life is his choice. Capital punishment too. Stockwell, Stockwell.
Yee-haw! Mr. Day? Mr. Day?
Sorry, Sandy, I had one of my spells.
Mr. Day, as Alberta Treasurer, you gain popularity with your upcoming flat tax. Exactly how does that work?
Flat tax? Simple. We tax people till they're flat broke.
You also said publicly that you'd change the GST. What would you do?
I'd scrap the 7% GST on goods and services and replace it with a new, fairer 7% national tax on services and goods.
That's no real change at all.
Say, you're not just another pretty hairstyle, are you?
With you as leader, do you think the Canadian Alliance has any chance of beating the Liberals in the next election?
Let me show you how I'd handle those Liberal wimps. Say the Liberals are this block of wood. Using my karate training, I will split them in two, like this. Hi-ya!
Any final words, Mr. Day?
No.
I'm Sandy Ronaldo. Good night. Money Management with Garth Boyle.
Hello and welcome to Money Management, the show that teaches financial independence with only the slightest risk of jail time. For most of us, the biggest question in our lives is how do we provide for our retirement years? For others, it's deciding whether to buy the industrial strength or regular 2000 flushes. One question I'm frequently asked is, Garth, why the beard? Another question is, Garth, at what age do you hope to retire? Well, 14% of Canadians said by age 65 or older. 22% said age 55 to 65. And a whopping 48% said the moment I get a job. These figures are telling. And what do they tell us? It certainly isn't invest all your money in corn futures. From where I sit, the future of corn is tenuous at best. However, if you wish to talk broccoli, we do have room for discussion. Let's look at building a golden nest egg. If starting at age 20, you save $5,000 a year, by age 65, you'll have $2 million. Not a sum to be sneezed at. But if you do sneeze, you will have enough money to pay for the medicine bill to cure you. If you start at age 50 and can put away $45,000 a year, you're making far too much money to retire. Conversely, if you wait until age 95 to start putting away $750,000 a year, chances are by the time you retire, you will already have been dead for 12 years. Well, what are we to make of all these facts and figures? How are we to apply this knowledge? Is there a substitute for sugar that doesn't give you cramps? All very good questions which I will make note of and try to have answers for during my next show, should there be a next show. Until then, I am Garth Boyle. This is Money Management. And my beard will be guest hosting Venture later this week.
It's an entertainment experience like you've never seen before. River Table Dance. Mickey's Shamrock Bar and Grill. 12 shows nightly. Tables permitting.
Stay tuned. Air Farce welcomes Dave Broadfoot. Now Air Farce welcomes Dave Broadfoot, Sergeant Major Renfrew of the RCMP.
I was sitting in my lonely log cabin here on the 14th floor of Mountie headquarters with my invincible assistant of the canine persuasion, Corporal Cuddles. I'd been chained to my desk for days, but all of a sudden the chief came bounding in and unlocked the chain. Renfrew, he said, at this very moment there's a break-in underway at a senior's residence on the other side of town. They need 4 of our best officers out there. So I'm sending you and Cuddles out there twice. Cuddles and I were met at the door of the residence by a silvery-haired man who sprayed Windex on my glasses and then squeegeed them. I tipped him generously. I didn't want any trouble with a former prime minister. He took Cuddles and me in to meet the superintendent, a retired femme fatale who had already seen some 79 summers and a lot more winters. She was sitting provocatively on top of a clothing hamper. Her orthopedic stockings rolled seductively just below her knees. Follow me, Sergeant Major, she purred. I show to you the crime of the scene. Madame Le Super walked ahead of us, swaying her hips in the way only a 79-year-old femme fatale with a walker can. By the time I'd followed her all the way to the laundry room, I was in a cold sweat. I'd been celibate ever since I fell off my horse at a gay pride parade. Madame Le Super explained that the young break-in suspects had already been apprehended by the senior home's own RCMP, retired crumpet and muffin persons. It was true. Lying on the floor of the laundry room were the suspects, all trussed up in President's Choice hernia belts. Memories of heavy lifting. Quickly, I unbound the first suspect and handcuffed him to my wrist. As I did, using his free hand, the suspect made a pathetic attempt to bonk me on the head. When I regained consciousness, I grabbed my cellular, my portable phone, to call HQ for backup. HQ is Harvey Quirk. He's a sergeant on the emergency desk at headquarters. I heard a click and a voice said, "Thank you for calling the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. Merci d'avoir appelé la Gendarmerie Royale du Canada. For service in English, press 1. Quickly, I pressed and heard, "If you know the extension of the person you're calling, enter it now. If you know the last name of the person you're calling, enter the first 3 letters." Frantically, I pressed QUI for Quirk, and I heard, "That is an incorrect name. Please hang up and try your call again. Please hang up and try your call again. Please hang up." As my sanity was slipping away, through the laundry window, I saw my cruiser starting to move. It was their getaway driver. I asked myself, if my cruiser's being stolen, should I make a note of the license number? Suddenly, the cruiser stopped. It was surrounded by the retired crumpet and muffin persons. They grabbed the driver, lashed him up with hernia belts, and threw him in the back seat. By that time, Madame Le Super had finished bandaging my groin and released me from a lingering farewell kiss. At the trial, the defense attorney explained that the breaking in of the building was an honest mistake. The young men had no idea the laundry room contained a strong box full of pension checks. They only wanted to launder their pantyhose and had confused the senior's home with a laundromat. Then the prosecutor pointed out that in their confusion, these fine young men, whose names cannot be mentioned because of the Young Offenders Act, they had scaled an 18-meter-high barbed wire fence, pried open a steel fire door, crawled 50 meters through an air shaft, then smashed their way through an air vent grill. But then the defense pointed out, when you're wearing pantyhose over your face that needs to be laundered, it's very hard to see where you're going. Young offenders got off scot-free. As for me, I accidentally mentioned one of their names, and I'm going to jail.
News from Away Update. Closed captioning brought to you by the Henderson Institute of Keyboarding and Computer Science, where they learn you how to spell real good.
At the World Championship, Russian Elena Bereznaya became the first figure skater to test positive for a banned substance. The skating community is in shock. Everyone thought it would have been a male skater testing positive for estrogen.
I think that's quite enough closed captioning for now.
Cuban President Fidel Castro sent a 31-member delegation to the U.S. to negotiate the return of little Elian Gonzalez. Castro is now preparing a second 31-member delegation to negotiate the return of the first 31-member delegation.
Elian says he would consider returning to Cuba, but he's much too busy with his book deal, his Nike commercial, and preparing for his new Fox TV game show, Who Wants to Be a Cuban Refugee? And finally, the Court of Appeal has given a Quebec woman permission to sue the Bay department store over high credit card interest rates. She is also being allowed to pay her lawyer using her Club Z points.
And that's the news from Away for this season.
Oh, we're done with the news for the summer. Now we're unemployed and that's a bummer. We'll enjoy the summer air, drinking beer in our underwear. Oh, we're done with the news for the summer.